One of the best features of using the Ethos radio systems with Rotorflight FBL systems is the Lua RF Suite package by Thomson. With the Rotorflight Suite or RF Suite, you can access most of your forward programming settings of the flybarless unit directly from the radio to be able to do forward programming of your PID tunings, your governor settings, pretty much most of the basic settings that you're going to be adjusting in the field as you're flying and tuning in the helicopter. You even have access to the ESC forward programming for Scorpion ESCs, Hobbywing V5, and a few others here. The second part of the RF suite gives you a telemetry display screen on the main page of your radio called the Rotorflight status widget. And with this, it'll display your most basic telemetry data, such as the governor state, your link quality, timer, voltage, and current from your ESC, as well as your head speed and your remaining fuel or battery percentage. So to set this up, you have to first install the Rotorflight Suite, RF Suite Lua scripts to your radio system. So using a USB-C data cable, I'll connect that to the top of the radio USB port here. And on the pop-up menu, I'll select Ethos Suite. On your computer, you should see two drives appear, your flash drive and your radio drive. They may open automatically, or you may need to click and choose to open the folder to view the files. Here you'll see I already have a scripts folder. If you don't have a scripts folder already, you would just need to create this new folder by clicking on the new folder icon and then name it scripts. Next, we'll go to the Rotorflight website using the web browser, which is rotorflight.org. Under the download section, you'll see the Ethos Transmitter Lua, and there's two different versions of the Lua scripts. One is basically just a text-based forward programming menu, and the other is with the icons and a little bit more friendly touch interface. So I'm going to go ahead and download the Ethos Rotorflight Touch Suite version 2.1.1. That will take you to a GitHub page here. When you scroll down, you'll see Rotorflight Lua Ethos Suite 2.1.1.zip under the Assets menu. So I'll click on that to download it. Once it's downloaded, I'll open that file. You'll see that inside of the zip file is a scripts folder, and you're going to click on that scripts folder and drag it to your radio drive, making sure that you don't accidentally drop it into one of the subfolders. You need to drop it right onto the radio drive. Alternatively, you can right click on that folder, click on copy, go to your radio drive, make sure you see all of your subfolders here, including scripts, right click on the empty space, and click on paste. This will take a couple minutes to install because there's quite a few items in the RF suite. And once it's installed, you can right click on the radio drive and eject it. Now I'll disconnect the USB cable and just hit return to the checklist warning. Next, I'll power up the RF007. You'll want to make sure that the RF007 is already registered and bound. In this case, I'm using an Archer Plus version of it. From the Model Setup menu, you'll scroll over to Telemetry, and you'll want to turn on Discover New Sensors so that the sensor list will populate here. Next, you'll go to Model Setup again, scroll over to Lua, and enable the Rotorflight background task. The beep confirms that everything is connected, and over on the System menu, you can scroll over and see the Rotorflight Suite icon. And when you click on it, you should be able to access your forward programming. If you get an error at this point, you may not have enabled telemetry on the Rotorflight FBL on the RF007. So what you'll need to do is, with the RF007 connected, open up Rotorflight Configurator. Make sure you've selected the correct COM port for your RF007 and connect. Then go to the Receiver tab and make sure you have telemetry enabled. Once you've done this, you'll need to go back into your telemetry page on Ethos and discover the sensors again. The second part of the RF suite is the status page with the telemetry data that displays on the main screen. To add that screen, you'll click on the Configure Screens button at the bottom, the two overlapping boxes with the plus sign. Click on the plus button here to add a new screen. I'll select the full page layout, not full screen layout, but full page layout. Click on the Change Widget and select the Rotorflight Status Widget option. You'll see now I have another screen added here that you can swipe over to. One additional thing you can do is go back to your Configure Screens, click on Screen 2, and move it forward. And you can also set it as your main screen so that when you back out, it will be the first screen that's displayed, and you can swipe over to your other screens as necessary. So that's the basic setup for the Rotorflight Suite package from Rob Thomson. This Lua widget does get updated fairly often, and for this latest version, you do need to be on Ethos 1.6.2. And on the Rotorflight Suite GitHub page, you'll see that it shows that it's for version 2.1.1 Rotorflight. And on RF Rotorflight Configurator, you'll see that the configurator version that I'm using is 2.1.1. If after you set this all up, you're still not getting your voltage, current, or other telemetry data coming in, you'll need to open up Rotorflight Configurator, connect to the FBL, go into the Receiver tab, and make sure to enable all of your telemetry options here, such as the governor mode, PID profile, rates profile, and pretty much most of these I enable except for the GPS. And of course, the other part that you'll need to make sure that you have set up is your ESC telemetry. So under the configuration tab, the telemetry port here needs to be set to ESC telemetry. Under the motors tab, you'll need to make sure that your governor is set for your governor mode. For ESC telemetry protocol, you'll want to select the option that matches your ESC. And under the power tab on Rotorflight Configurator, you'll need to set the battery voltage source and battery current source to ESC telemetry. And then, of course, you also need to make sure to have your ESC telemetry wired up correctly to the FBL. After you've installed the RF Suite Lua scripts, you might run into this error when setting up the Rotorflight status screen that says please enable the background task, or when you try to access the Rotorflight Suite forward programming, will also say please enable the background task. So what you need to do is go back to your model setup, scroll over to Lua, and for the Rotorflight background task, you need to enable it. This will let the Rotorflight status widget load, as well as the forward programming from this page. One other error you may run into when trying to access the Rotorflight Suite settings is unable to determine MSP version in use. And this can be due to a few various reasons. Usually it's because you don't have the telemetry sensors discovered. So what you'll need to do is click on the model setup, scroll over to telemetry, and turn the discover sensors on to discover all the sensors in the sensor list. If you're still not receiving any of the flight control FBL system information here, there are a couple things that you need to check. First is under the RF system, scroll down to the RS Plus receiver or the TW-R6FB receiver, click on it, choose options, and ensure that the telemetry port is set to FBus mode. Then, on Rotorflight Configurator, connect to the FBL system, go to the receiver tab, and ensure that receiver protocol is set to FrSky FBus and the enable telemetry setting is turned on. Then save and reboot. Once you've verified those two settings, be sure that you go back into your telemetry and discover the sensors so that they'll populate. With the telemetry discovered, you should be able to access the Rotorflight Suite forward programming. If you're still getting unable to determine MSP version, then double check that you've updated your ethos to 1.6.2 and that you've installed the Rotorflight Suite latest version.